Okay, welcome everyone to the Uncover the Power Within Blueprint. My name is Elisha Goldstein, and I'm the founder of the Mindful Living Collective and creator of the coaching program Uncover the Power Within. And super happy you're here and you've come to this. You've come to this because there's some part of you that wants to learn how to maybe move from a place of feeling stressed and overwhelmed or stuck in some way and feeling more of a sense of internal confidence so you can focus on what matters more in your life or be more in control of your mind to be able to do that and to be able to just enjoy life more in a lot of ways. So welcome to everyone that's here. And over the course of this hour, I'm going to show you how to do what I just said. I'm going to show you kind of the blueprint for that. And part of that includes uncovering and exploring these, what I call these 7 dormant superpowers that you have, that science has shown over time. My own personal experience has shown over time, and working with thousands of people at the same time. You'll discover and we'll explore, and maybe one of the biggest obstacles to actually making this change or getting unstuck, making this shift that we want to make in our lives. And I'll also share 3 essential ingredients that are necessary when it comes to sustainable change. So any program or anything else that you're ever looking at in the future, or any book or any whatever, anything that you're ever taking into your life to make a shift or a change or improve in some way or bring more acceptance into your life, whatever it is that is going to turn the dial for you, you're going to want these 3 things in your life in order to do that. So just a brief mention, who am I? I'm someone that has came to this work through my own struggle in my own life. I have my own change journey through this. Years ago, some of you might be familiar with this. I was working in San Francisco and I was working hard and playing a whole lot harder. And I was very successful on the outside. I was the person in the corporate world who was being showered with accolades and being sent on trips, and because I was doing really well in in that world of business. And but there was something inside of me that really wasn't working. It was a little bit broken, and I was taking the time that I wasn't in my job, and actually some of the time I was in my job, and just partying like crazy, like playing so hard, abusing my mind and body with drugs and alcohol. And so there was some hole there that I was filling. And I was oftentimes looking and searching for something that would support me or help me or improve me in some way. And I would trip and fall along the way. And I thought I found something, and then I would feel a little bit better. And then something would happen and I would fall back down, and I would just kind of be yo-yoing back and forth in this kind of trying to find my potential. And you may resonate with that. And that was my own change journey. And so I needed to find a better way. And I was seeking things. I heard about mindfulness, and I'd been reading about it. And eventually I had an intervention with my family, and I went away for a month, and I met this guy that asked me to entertain the idea of eating an orange in a particular way. And many of you have a story something like this, maybe, where your entrance into coming into contact with creating more awareness. But anyway, he had me pay attention to it and look at it. And I was like rolling my eyes in the beginning, because I was like, what is this guy having me do? And never forget when I peeled the skin back and the zest popped up. And I was surprised by that. And I looked at the meat of the orange, and I saw all the veins in there and the different colors that were in there, which I'd never noticed before. And finally I put it in my mouth, and it burst open, and I could feel taste buds that I'd never felt before. And it was just the tastiest orange I'd ever had. And he said, how do you feel? And I said, I feel relaxed and I feel alive. And he said, well, what would the days, weeks, and months ahead be like if you had more of this? And I said, yes, sign me up. And so that was the beginning. But when I went back, it took me all of 2 or 3 weeks just to fall back into my own patterns. But a seed was planted, but I learned something very important there, which was experiences alone are not enough to make shifts in our lives. They're seeds that are planted, but they're not enough. We need something in place that's going to support making sustainable change. So I tested out over time. I kind of tested out this with my own anxiety. I had panic attacks in the past. I had very strong insomnia, where I had trouble falling asleep. And as I inevitably chose to go back to school and become a psychologist, and that's where I really started to train as a mindfulness, train in more mindfulness more specifically, and then inevitably become a mindfulness teacher and become a trained mindfulness teacher as well. And I started testing these applications on my panic, and I started testing these applications on my insomnia. And as I started to kind of nuance it for myself, um, I was surprised by how much deep trust I began to find in myself. So much so that the insomnia started to extinguish, and the panic attacks, if they came, they came, and I caught it, and it began to pass away. And because I knew this, I started to develop this rock solid confidence that no matter what comes my way, I'm going to be okay. And so I started working with people around that in my work, my private life as a psychologist, and um, I I was surprised by my own shifts, but I was even more surprised by the depth of shifts that happened with the people that I was working with. I wrote books on it, as many you might be familiar with. I created many programs in the past based on this. And but the best part about this whole thing for me personally is that my lower brain region was no longer able to really hijack me. And if it did, not for too long. So it helped me feel a greater sense of ease and calm in my life and control, so I could pay attention to what matters. And what matters really at the end of the day, because we only have this short stint on this planet, is that I could actually enjoy what's good and meaningful in my life. And that's invaluable. That's absolutely invaluable. And so you can see now I'm doing pretty good in my life after all those different things. And but this has taken me over 20 years to get to a place where I deeply understand and can teach how to feel a deeper sense of control and trust in myself without getting hooked by those old and maybe unhealthy mental and behavioral um, patterns that keep us stuck in the same old, same old. So for me, it became kind of an upward spiral and of more joy and ease in my life. Not that I don't get, nothing's not stress in my life, or and hard moments don't happen or something like that, but there's a way to come back to it a little bit sooner. So you're in this Uncover the Power Within blueprint, and these seven superpowers that I'm going to share with you in a minute are for people who want to go from feeling overwhelmed and stuck in their routine in life and want a greater sense of personal control. They want to be in the driver's seat of their mind in life, and they want to feel more freedom and joy. And they want to do it in a way where it sets up the future so that it starts defaulting to that more. And as you may know at this point, because we've been talking about this for a while now, I've created a program called Uncover the Power Within, and this is the week that I'm setting, the final week that I'm setting up interviews. Every single person in this program has to be interviewed to come in, and because we have to make sure it's a good fit for both of us. And so anybody that sets up an interview prior to Friday is going to get the opportunity, if it's a good fit for both of us, to come in at the pre-enrollment price. So I'm just sending out my Calendly there right now, and then we'll go through this whole thing just so you have that from the get-go. So what's the formula? I want to share this with you right now. Let me show you, and let me press share here so I can indeed share what I'm wanting to share. And let's make sure that it does what we're wanting it to do. And it shall. Okay, I'm back. Something happened, but I'm back. Don't worry about it. I think my computer had to go through its own process of understanding how to share something because it was having a hard time sharing. That's what it was. Yeah, it was having a hard time sharing. So there it is. Okay, so here we are. This is the change journey. So step one in this set is how to be happier blueprint is we have to begin any process of wanting to create change in our lives by understanding that change is a process. This prepares our mind for um, the inevitable reality that all things come and go. So we're wanting to make a shift. Let me explain how this happens. You can see this graph here. You're wanting to make a shift, right? And what happens is you get really excited in the beginning. I don't care whether it's I want to get healthy and start exercising more, or I want to get a meditation practice going, or I'm really going to start doing this program and I want to kind of get it going. Whatever's going to happen for you, whatever change you want to make in your life, whatever way you want to start uncovering the powers within you, what's going to happen is you're going to feel really good initially and motivated. And then what's going to happen is something where the little doubter in your mind, that little gremlin, like I like to call it, is going to come and hook you a bit. And it's going to say, I don't really know if this is for you. You're feeling a little tired. You've taken a few days off. And maybe this isn't, maybe that idea that you couldn't really do this is true. Anyone resonate with that here? Go ahead and give a shout out on the comments if that actually resonates with you. But then you pull yourself up and you say, okay, my friends, someone's behind me, and no, I did make a commitment and to myself, and I'm going to do it. Okay, I feel the energy again. You saw that, and you go up and you get the energy, but then something happens. You get sick, or maybe you get a bill in the mail, and it's expensive, and you get down on yourself, and that little gremlin starts coming back in and says, "Nope, see, I told you, you couldn't do this." Or yeah, we'll get to it later. Whatever it is, anything to put it off, because what's happening is our mind is wired towards certainty. It's wired towards certainty, and it's better to stay in the place that your mind would knows better, than to risk getting better and healthier and finding joy in life, because that's a little bit more uncertain. Can everyone, let me just check in. Can everyone see me? I see Eileen said I lost you. Not sure how to reconnect. Can someone, I lost the transmission as well. Okay. Okay. Let me just make sure. I'm just saying, so maybe I'm talking to no one. No issues here. You can, okay, great. All right. So everyone can see me. That's good. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay, we're exactly where we need to be. Anyway, so having this perspective from the beginning is really important, so that you don't get so surprised and taken aback when you have those tougher moments. And we can begin to bring these other superpowers into place to be able to step into that space of awareness and mediate it in a way where you experience greater resiliency, and you know what you need in a particular moment, and you're able to move in that direction. So, okay, this is the first piece of this. So this is the change journey. So the second thing is this aspect of being able to be more present and awake to your life. But before we do that, what is frustrating to me as a psychologist and someone who has worked with people over the past 20 years to be able to support them in finding the rhythm that they need to live a life they love, is when they are throwing money away on different apps, which are great, but they create fits and starts for them, or even some online courses that don't support them in a full way, but they're more just content oriented, which are also wonderful, can plant seeds, but they don't really create the transformation that they're wanting. And so I know that for me, what's been most valuable, and I'll get to it in a minute, are really these three aspects of change that I'm going to touch on. One person that went, by the way, through this program that I'm speaking of said she was a writer and she was in her mid-40s, and she felt really stuck and riddled with anxiety. She had been trying to deal with it forever. She went through therapy, and that was supportive and helpful. She had read books, and yet still there was this sense of not feeling that sense of mastery over it. And then she inevitably said, most importantly are the changes that I begin to see in myself. Now, other students are reporting it as well. Over time, my mind is becoming quieter. Neither my thoughts nor my feelings are leading to impulse or overwhelm. I'm more accepting of others, and I'm gradually becoming more accepting of myself. In a nutshell, it has quickly started to pay off. So this is really what's possible. There really is a possibility to create a greater sense of mastery over our emotional lives. And I'm going to share a different image right now for you that we're going to now put on the screen, and that you're going to, oh, you know what, it's the same one, just different place. Let me get to it here. So this is the How to Be Happier blueprint, by the way. I kind of break it down. Here we go. This is what I want to show you. So, okay. So the second thing here that we want to be aware of here is how to really relax and awaken the nervous system. Why is that important? Because there's a few pillars that you need for optimal learning and integration, and these are two of the three. We need to learn especially in our day and age, when there's so much of uncertainty here, how to take time and practice and play with and create more confidence over how to relax and awaken our nervous system. So what I mean by that is, you might say, well, my nervous system is always on high alert, but to create that balance that's there. Because if you can be relaxed and awake at the same time, you're going to be able to take in the stimulants that are all around us, or a triggering response, and be able to settle into it with a greater sense of groundedness that's there. And when that happens, you can choose a response that is actually more, it's actually healthier for you. But one of the things that come in even early on, again, in this program, and I'm going to repeat this throughout this because this is important, is two things. Two of the obstacles that come up. One I mentioned was doubt. I don't think I can really make this change. I don't really think I can make this shift in my life. The second one is that's the self-critical mind. Now, you might be familiar with this part of your mind that's telling you that there's something wrong with you, that you're not going to be able to achieve this ability to feel that kind of rock solid confidence within yourself, that no matter what comes your way, you're going to be okay, which is my definition of happiness. My definition of happiness is not like overcome with joy all the time. That's great. We can have more of that when we have the confidence. But when we have this rock solid confidence, then we have a greater sense of internal locus of control. And that's correlated all across science, all across psychological studies with well-being. And that's what we really want. That's what we're after. And so let's go through this. So we want to relax and awaken the nervous system. One way of just considering that is we can do this formally through meditation, certain specific types of meditations, which are training a sense of feeling more relaxed. We can also do this informally in our life. One example of this is, and you may have heard me talk about this, is part of our experience is a walking nervous system. And we're much more than that, but this is really what's happening and hijacking us. So if we can be aware where the nervous system is acting in our day-to-day, then we can learn to soften it and relax it. And I oftentimes say to people who are doing meditation, they say, well, I experience pain sometimes. And I said, well, what's the value of experiencing pain, of noticing it? The value of it is that you can then wake up to it and adjust. And so in our day-to-day life, one way of relaxing the nervous system or training this is just being aware of where we're bracing in our day. Those of you who have been with me for a while know this idea that that is a signal to us that our body is starting to amp up and our nervous system is amping up, and we're not usually even aware of it. And so if we can notice that, it can be a cue to allow us to soften our body, and we're starting to train this ability to relax our nervous system. We can also learn how to bring more energy into our life. What brings us energy? Being on the lookout for novelty in our life, or creating more novelty in our life, moving our bodies, You can consider in your life, what brings me energy? Just this inhalation, by the way, if you didn't know, is bringing essential nutrients and energy into our body. The awareness of that can help awaken the mind. So those are the first two superpowers that we want to bring into our life. The second one is we want to build a sense of focus and concentration. If we're so distracted all the time because we're training ourselves to be overstimulated with our technology, which all of us have a certain degree of that, you're not alone at all. But if we're training this ability to switch all the time, then we can't focus and take in the good. We can't take in. We're just enslaved to wherever our brain is choosing to pay attention. And if we're living from a place of stress and overwhelm or anxiety, or feeling a little depressed or feeling a little stuck, it's going to pay attention to the stuff that reinforces that because it's afraid of it. So it's going to move in that direction. That's that negativity bias. And so if we're able to harness control of our attention, we can choose to attend to all the other stuff that's also happening, by the way, which might allow us to bring in more good, which creates a sense of resiliency, or maybe self-love, which creates a sense of resiliency. Then we train in this ability to be more present and mindful, more aware in our day-to-day life. So that's the third superpower we really want to bring into our minds and our lives. And we can train that again through certain specific types of meditations. And we can also train that through our ability to stay focused intentionally for a period of time. So in other words, instead of choosing to get distracted with a number of things, what we do is we say, I'm going to pay attention to this person in front of me without distraction for a period of time. I'm just going to listen to them. That's a way of training focus. An easier way to do it is I'm just going to listen to this music here, this whole song through. My mind wanders, I'm going to come back to it. Now, these are informal ways of training this. There's ways to train our ability to focus more and better. It's just, we all have the ability to attend. And we all have the ability to attend to our intentions. And when we bring that awareness as a practice in our life, what we practice and repeat, we get more of. Wherever our focus goes, we invite a certain energy to flow. And that's just real stuff. That's just how nature works too. It's the same thing. There is no mystical thing about that. That's just how we operate. So the next superpower we want to bring into our lives, and this is sometimes my favorite one, and I know in this particular program, the Uncover the Power Within program, this is where people want to spend a lot of time. And the area of self-compassion and forgiveness is one that if we take it to heart and learn how to practice and apply it in a particular way, we can build this sense of trust in ourselves. We can build a deep sense of trust in ourselves. And not only that, we can build a deep sense of love in ourselves. And when we're loving ourselves, it's much easier to more authentically love other people. And when we're doing that, we're creating this sense of connection, which only amplifies our sense of feeling safe in this world. And when we feel safe in this world, we bring in all kinds of contentment that arises. We're much freer with our attention and in our ability to choose where we want to pay attention. So we can build in certain practices. I know in this program, we go deep into things like nonviolent communication. We go deeper into really understanding emotions and building emotional intelligence. One of the stories for me is that you may have heard me tell in the past was how as a child, I was such an angry kid. And you might be surprised by that, but that was real. I was really angry. I'd sit there and I'd put my hands. If you've read Uncovering Happiness, you'll know the story where I would hide under the table at restaurants because I would just know that we couldn't afford that meal. And so I would just boycott the whole thing. And it was super embarrassing for my family looking back on it. And so there I was though, but it wasn't until my mom at one point, told me, she said, at some point I think you're gonna feel angry and you're gonna get back in touch with that. And when you do, I'd love for you to come to me and talk to me about it. And that opened a door for me. But what even opened a larger door for me was when I realized that anger, to me, the word anger was this big word. And so I had to, if I was gonna feel angry, I had to be like super angry and like furious. And that was like anger to me. But anger is really frustration, irritation, annoyance. Those are anger things. And when I realized that, when I grew my vocabulary of emotions, when I started to realize and do this in a real way in my daily life, I realized I could get in touch with it more. I could feel it. I noticed how it felt in my body. And I started a whole ripple effects of me becoming way more emotionally aware than I ever have been in the past. And it's not like I have so many emotions, so I'm emotionally aware. That's not emotionally aware. That's emotionally chaotic. That's different. We're looking to be more aware of our emotions in a grounded way, so that we can understand what we're needing. And when we do that, those two things with practice and repetition, we begin to trust ourselves more. And then when we do that, we can also be more aware of what other people are needing. And we can begin to communicate more effectively and create healthier relationships in our lives. And when we do that and we create the connections, those connections become, or recognize when relationships are not healthy and begin to kind of distance ourselves or relate to them differently. All these different ways we can really optimize our threads of connection in life, which are going to, internally and externally, which ultimately allow us to feel happier and to feel way more powerful than ever before within ourselves too. So that's that sense of deep trust that we begin to develop. So the next one that we have is really being able to build a life of joy. So how do we do that? So now that we have these other kind of powers under our belt, we are able to, in a more grounded way, a more intentional way, be open to the joys that are happening within us and outside of us, the things we're appreciative of inside of us and outside of us. And by the way, just as a reminder, every single thing here has like a onslaught of scientific articles behind it. So nothing here is like just a willy-nilly thing. This is all based in science. This is all based in thousands of people's experience. This is all based in my experience. I had to go through this whole journey in order to be here right now delivering this. And so, but building a life of joy is real and possible. And what we're doing is, but on its own, if I just took this little circle and on its own said, hey, go build a life of joy, on its own, that doesn't work. But you need this journey. The reason you're seeing this as like not just like a line item thing is because there can be kind of a linear process to this. And at the same time, these all support one another. All of these things support one another. So building a life of joy, we have to be able to develop a sense of deep self-compassion and trust before we build a life of joy. Otherwise, what's going to happen is we're going to try and build a life of joy. And then we're going to have a tough moment. And we're going to say, I knew it. I knew I couldn't do that. And we start getting super self-critical on ourselves. And we start being hard on ourselves. And we don't know how to handle that. We don't have the perspective, which was that first circle you see here. And we also don't have the ability to work with ourselves with deep self-compassion and forgiveness. And so that allows us to bring ourselves back to starting to re-engage a life of greater joy that's there. So we can build that. We can nurture the kind voice in our mind. We can develop the ability to more implicitly be more grateful and appreciative for what's here versus what's not here. We can focus on what we can do instead of what we can't do. We can focus more on what's here instead of just what's not here. And both of those are true. It's just that, again, wherever our focus goes, we invite an energy to flow. So what we're doing is we're practicing the ability to be able to be more in the driver's seat of our attention. And in doing that, we can design the life that we love. We can design a mind that is working for us, not against us. So you might have seen in a page I created online this idea that there's a tug of war sometimes happening, like just beneath the surface, like there's a tug of war. It's like I want to feel good and I want to feel happy. But there's this languishing that's here, which we're hearing in our culture a lot lately now. There's languishing from the past year that's been here. And it's just hard. And I feel like every time I feel like I want to get better and then it pulls me back, and it's just like this tug of war. There's the ability through this process to be able to drop the rope and be able to see clearly that it's not the rope. We're out, as Rumi says, we're beyond the ideas of right doing and wrong doing. In that place, I'll meet you there. That's what we're developing, so we have more freedom in our lives, so we can build a life of joy. So the next one is building a life of connection. What does this mean? This means like after we do all this stuff, we also have to be aware that this is there's an opportunity here to work with deep compassion and connection. And we can recognize that in this world, there's people that are suffering, in this world, and you may be one of those people right now, and then we can learn how to create a sense of connection where we can recognize the suffering with an inclination to support. And with that inclination to support, we're actually reinforcing what we're doing is neurobiologically, what we're doing is we're activating our vagal nerve, which is our vagus nerve, which is the 10th cranial nerve that connects the brain to the heart. And when we activate that, it tends to make us feel better. When we have higher vagal tone measured by heart rate variability, we tend to feel better. And deep compassion work has been shown to be correlated, even if it's just visualizing. This is work by Barbara Fredrickson at the University of North Carolina. It's been shown to activate a sense of positive emotion. It activates the vagus nerve, and we tend to feel a greater sense of connection. And remember what I said earlier about connection. My own research, a number of years ago now, showed that connection is really at the epicenter of well-being. When people are feeling more connected, that's correlated with quantitative scales of deep psychological well-being and stress reduction. And you know this in your daily life. Science just shows us what we already know sometimes. When you feel connected, you feel good. When you feel, check in. When you're not feeling well, ask yourself, am I feeling connected or disconnected? Typically, you'll find out you're feeling fairly disconnected. And so we need to practice moving to a state of connection, and we can begin to practice that in our daily lives, both just with, again, specific meditation practices can help with that, as science has shown. We can also bring that outside of those practices into our regular life and begin to weave that as a strength that we get stronger and stronger with. And by the way, through this whole thing, and you'll also notice I very intentionally created this graph very playfully. I don't know if that's the impact it has, but I did it very playfully because this whole process, we want to have a real strong attitude of play. You want to be flexible. You don't want to take yourself too seriously through this whole thing. So I know in the Uncover the Power Within program, you'll see that there's play in every single aspect of it, because that allows for better learning and integration when we have that. And it's also fun and feels good. And the community arises with that. It's a flavor of the whole community. Okay, finally, the last part is we have to more deeply integrate a feeling of what's called equanimity. We have to more deeply integrate this ability to settle into that seat of more natural awareness and recognize that in life we have this wisdom. All things come and go in life. And so even in the moment that it's almost like you're breathing from the inside out, that when there's a good moment, you're saying for now. When there's a hard moment, your nervous system says for now. So it doesn't buy into the catastrophizing that's there. It doesn't buy into the onslaught of like, I'll never get better or nothing's going to change. It doesn't buy into that because everything is for now. And you're able to then be more grateful during the wonderful moments that are there because you see them as precious and sacred. Just like a butterfly or a flower or something like that. And you're able to be more graceful during the difficult moments. And that's because they're for now. And it's not forever. And you can allow yourself then to go back and apply what you're needing in that moment. And that allows you to have more grace during that period. So we can begin to train in that. And one way of doing that, by the way, just in your everyday life, is just as you walk around, take a look around. See leaves that have fallen on the ground. See things that have been there before but are no longer there anymore. Listen to your breath and notice how it shifts and changes. Everything is for now. Everything comes and goes. Maybe accept that rule. And so we start to really train in that. So all of these things that are here help you move through, develop these deep, all these powers, I just want to say, are innate within everybody. All we're doing is tapping and growing. And there needs to be three things. And these are the three things that you absolutely need to make change sustainable. You absolutely need these three things. From my experience, this is like a non-negotiable. Anybody can say, I'm just going to pull myself up by my bootstraps and I'm going to do all of this stuff. I'm just going to make this change myself all alone. This is it. It's me. But what I found in my life is that we need these three things. We need a guide. We need someone who's been there, been maybe a little further along the path than me, or maybe they're really studied in it, but they've experienced this stuff themselves and they have the knowledge of it and the experience of it, or other people. We need that guide. So you've always seen like people in the past who have said, who's your teacher? And nowadays, because of the internet and everything, people have said, oh, my teacher is this person and that person, that person. But all you mean by that is I read their books and their blogs and their videos and stuff like that, but they're not really, you don't really have direct access to them in that same type of way typically, and in a regular ongoing way that if you were at like some place and you went away somewhere, you would see this teacher regularly. And so this happened on Tuesday, you could ask them a question on Wednesday, right? You just happen, so you catch it in your life. When a week or two or three or a month goes by, whatever happened on April 1st is different than on May 1st. So you don't have regular access to a teacher. Regular access to a mentor is really important. And a real community is also really important. These are people who are value aligned, who are committed to making the shifts in their lives. I don't say that lightly. It's important to have people who are committed. That's gonna really catalyze the shifts that you want to make in your life. If you were, just think about it. If you were standing in a circle and you're surrounded by a group of people, and everyone that in that group you knew was committed to making the changes they want to make, and you felt committed, how much more likely are you to actually make progress? Way more likely, because we're not islands. We're interconnected with everything around us, the environment, people, everything. These invisible influences are all over the place. And people are the strongest influences on our lives. And so we want to have regular contact with people who are committed to making shifts that we're wanting to make. The third thing is you need experiential learning. Didactic learning, podcasts and books and all of these I'm a big fan of. I love them. I'm on podcasts, I write books, love this. I see those more as planting seeds. If you really want to make changes, you need experience, because that then impacts the part of your brain that's involved with procedural memory. That's the autopilot that's there. That's who we want to be programming. We want to program the autopilot because you want this to start coming naturally for you, right? You want to be able to move from feeling stressed and overwhelmed or feeling stuck, whatever it is, to an autopilot of internal confidence, so that like, oh, this is what I see my body doing this right now. Oh, okay, pauses. This is what I need right now. And you begin to kind of give yourself that. Or you want the ability for this catastrophizing to arise and then to unhook from it and get a greater perspective on how nothing stays forever and things all come and go. And so your nervous system starts to relax. You want it to be like that. That happens only with experiential learning. So we need those three things. We need a guide, like a trusted guide. We need a community, a real community of people that are gonna, have our back, celebrate our good moments, give us insights during the obstacles that are there, and are all committed to change. And you want experiential learning. If you can find those three things, and you might have them in your life somewhere, you might be able to piecemeal them together. You might have them right now. If you can find those three things, that's what's going to help you catch you during the down moments, create more resiliency, and support sustainable change. So it's going to be like a spiral in some way, but it's going to be a spiral up. It's not that nothing is linear. It doesn't go like that, but it's a spiral. So it will go down. You will go down sometimes. That's inevitable. That's a change journey. That was the first thing we talked about today. But you'll be more resilient during that because you'll get the scaffolding and support that you need and the insight you need to make the pivots and shifts that you need. And then it goes up. The strengths will start to get stronger and stronger. I know in the Uncover the Power Within program, the amount of support that's given can feel oftentimes like one-to-one work because of the level of interaction that I have with people and people have with each other. Because if I'm stuck and going to look at the internet or going to reference my books or something like that over and over again, I'm going to be more ineffective. I'm going to waste time that's there. I want to share this with you. One of the people who have been through this program in the past, a woman, again, in her mid-40s who struggled with anxiety and panic, said, I like the idea that a component of this program is self-exploration and self-discovery, which can't really be forced. The freedom to work at my own pace in combination with a gentle framework with guidance, also being able to check in periodically with actual people really appeals to me. Yes, actual people. And that's kind of the key. That's really what we need. So until now, let me just share with you, I've never, ever given access to people with this level of access, except for my one-to-one clients. I've tested this. This method has been tested over the past 5 years. It's proven. And to this day, I use these strategies in my life and with my one-to-one clients that I have. And so if you're thinking that in going through this, that you're someone who's really ready to do this and interested in getting those pillars in place and really diving deep and getting more mastery and confidence over what I've shared today, all you need to do is really tell yourself that you're worth that and take action on it. Nothing happens in our life by just kind of pondering and thinking without that. And that's just really the tip of the iceberg. So there's two options. You can either do this yourself, which is totally possible, or get the support in ways that you can, or you can move along a proven success path. So if you want to, what I'm going to do is I want to put this back in there again. Everybody in this program needs to be interviewed by me. And that's so I understand the person that's coming in. I make sure it's the right fit for both you and for me. And this, let me just kind of lay out what this is, how this really works. This, again, is the program I laid out is exactly what you're seeing here. Comes in the form of teachings and really specifically laid out practices and exercises and ways to bring it into your daily life as well. Everything builds on itself. What I'm layering behind it, just so you're aware now, is a year's worth of group coaching services from me, where I'm available twice a week live to be able to catch you and answer questions from you and work with you right then and there, so that as you're going through this, you're never more than a couple days away, really a few days away from connecting with me live. Or if it's happening, between those live times that are happening on Tuesdays and Thursdays, then you can always post something in and you'll see either me. I allow people to just give me 24 hours to get back to them in our community space, or you'll see other people rising, because we all have similar things that are happening, and there are people who are a little bit further along than you, and so they'll have experiences of their own of how they've overcome things or worked with things in the past, and that might provide insight. Everyone in this program is really strongly encouraged to share their shifts when they're experiencing them, the changes when they're experiencing them. That's part of the culture here, because we don't often get that opportunity. And if someone's not sharing that, what's happening is they're either not working the program, they're not doing it, or they're playing small. And neither are going to serve anybody here. So we want the opportunity to celebrate you and to give you that boost, while you're having that. So so you have a year access to those weekly calls, the support, the program. The biggest problem in a lot of programs, or in a lot of what we're missing oftentimes in our lives, is when we're engaging stuff to make change in our lives, it's not personalized. And everyone here is unique, and you have your own stuff that you're going through, and the shifts and changes need to be personalized. There's no one size fits all program. And that's what really makes the difference. So I want you to have the best possible launch pad to create a life you love, to make the shifts you want to make, because I've been through it. I've been through my own stuff and had to work with that. This comes from within me. You've heard a lot here, and so I just want to know, are you next? Is this something really for you? And I don't want anyone in this program. I want the right people. It's not just for anybody. It's people who are committed to make the changes they want to make, and to make the shifts that they want to make in their mind and life. The intention here is to understand your goals and to see where you are, where your goals are, and that's what we'll explore on this call. And if I can kind of bridge that gap, and if it makes sense and makes sense to both of us, then makes sense to work together, then we'll do it. If it doesn't, then it was a good time, and I'm glad to get to know you. So here's what I know to be true. I wouldn't be here today unless I had the right mentorship and people around me. I wouldn't be here. There's not a successful person on this planet who hasn't had the right mentorship and people around them. That's just how it works. So go ahead and click on the Calendly if this seems right for you. Set up a time, reach out. I'll also give you our email if you have other questions that you want to connect with before that. Patty, we'll get to that answer in the interview, but just know that this program is definitely on the lower end of a 4-figure program. So just know that. So you can apply now, set up a call. That's great. I'll actually stick around a little bit to answer any questions you might have as well. But yeah, I hope this was really helpful. I hope that this model here that you see, this blueprint, if it's just you kind of plugging things into here for yourself and using this as something that you can just weave into your life, and that's what you're getting out of this, that's great. It's fantastic. Everything's good. It's all good. If you want to turn the dial and you're able to connect with the integration of what this offering is, then that's fantastic too. Just set up a time with me. I'm happy to talk with you. Okay, thank you, Gwen. Beautiful. Any other questions? Let's see. Let me just gaze up and see if there was any that came along before we end. Nope, that's it. Okay, thank you everyone for being here, and I'll be happy to talk with you if that's the right move for you. Okay, bye for now. Deborah, which mindfulness course are you talking about? And yes, for sure. Oh, did you mean a course in mindful living? Or did you mean some other course? Go ahead and respond to that. No. Thank you, Alona. Beautiful. Deborah, do you remember the name of the course? There's different mindfulness courses I've done in the past. Basics of Mindfulness Meditation, How to Meditate course, a course in mindful living. And this uses a course in mindful living as the backbone. Kiche, what do you mean it comes again? Say more about that. When what comes again? Okay, and Deborah, you can email. Go ahead and email if I don't. A course in mindful living. So, okay, Deborah. So this builds on a course in mindful living. So yeah, this uses a course in mindful living as the backbone. And so if you've taken a course in mindful living, you'll be familiar with the material. I mean everything, because a little bit's been updated, but you'll be familiar with the material. And then now what we're layering in is these 2 live calls every week over the course of a year. So you'll be able to really turn the dial on that program. Plenty of people from past who are past graduates from Course in Mindful Living have come back to do that. Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Be with you again. Bye for now.